six-pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six-pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six-pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six-pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six-pack, sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six-pack, sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six-pack, sit back to the back of the back of the grab a six-pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast. Grab a six-pack, sit back and prepare to laugh. It's Drunk Dashers podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 202 of the Drunk Dashers podcast. I'm your host, as always. I'm Tyler, and joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself. We have Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Ahoy, hoy. I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually doing pretty, alright and stuff. Because the better part of the past 3 weeks, I've been playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And finally, or on my birthday, no less, I beat the game. So, I feel fantastic. Now there's just a huge void left behind. And that's something I haven't felt with a video game in quite a while. But other than that, though, how have you been, Tyler?
I'm doing well. I beat, oddly enough, without even really talking about Breath of the Wild, just minutes before or after you. Basically, we beat the game within a few minutes of each other.
Ain't that fucking funny? You know, it's like I beat the game and stuff, and all of a sudden I see a freaking post inside of our little Facebook chat, and I see you posted about 5 minutes later, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What are the odds of that?
Yeah, so I too have that Zelda-sized hole in my heart, but I'm hoping Danganronpa can fill that hole. I'm gonna start that tomorrow. Just beat the game. What was that, Thursday night? So and it's Saturday night now. But I'm doing great. I started drinking this beer. It's supposed to be an easy ale. It tastes like nothing. So I switched back to that 9% beer that I was drinking last week. So I'm drinking that now. So I'm feeling pretty good. But also joining us, we have the man from the Southwest, Midwest. I don't know. We have Troy. What's up, buddy?
It's the desert Southwest.
Okay.
I'm glad you didn't finish off your beer last week. Is it flat?
No, it's still pretty good. I put aluminum foil over the top, and it's good to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I hear you stuff a paper towel in the tip. That'll usually do pretty good.
not some sort of
my heart overfloweth with Breath of the Wild because I am nowhere near finished, unlike you guys.
I'm not actually finished with the game either, to be perfectly honest. I beat the main game, but I still want to play Zelda.
There's still a shit ton to do. There's a lot to do.
Oh yeah, even going through well, anyway, I shouldn't really ramble on and stuff. Troy, take it from here, dude.
Come on.
No, it's cool. Yeah, no, it's funny too because hearing you guys were talking about it. I mean, I didn't hear you guys talking about spoilers, thankfully, but before that, you were talking about how you thought this was, in your opinion, one of the best Zelda games because of the open-endedness of it, how you can kind of approach it your own way, and everything about this game kind of reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 5, which I think is an absolutely amazing game. And in the same way, it's you can approach it from your own way of doing things that kind of enables conversation. It's oh, well, how did you approach this? How did you do that? And then also in the same vein, you're well, yeah, I beat the boss. I technically finished the game, but I'm not done with the game. There's so much more for me to do. And that's the same for me with Metal Gear Solid 5. I think I've got 130 hours in it, and I've still, just go back to it from time to time because it's such an amazing game. So yeah, I mean, this game is great, and yeah, it really is in my mind reminiscent of Metal Gear Solid 5 in a lot of the best ways.
Oh my god, yeah. There's just so much of a mix of different types of, not only different types of inspirations from past games, but honestly, the open-endedness, the really reminiscent from the original Legend of Zelda, but just like what you were just describing, Troy, with Metal Gear Solid 5. Even though it's criminally unfair for me, because I have not even remotely touched Metal Gear Solid 5. I want to get back into it. But
I mean, if you enjoyed Breath of the Wild that much, I think you definitely could get into Metal Gear Solid 5 if you gave it a shot, because it's very similar. A lot of the things that I do in this game just harken back. It's one of those things where it's I think I said last week, it's you have these moments where it's can I do this? and then you try it and you absolutely can do this. Like yesterday I was on a mountaintop, I believe, and I was paragliding into a valley, and as I was coming down, I noticed like right below me, I was like, oh hey, there's a deer. I wonder if I can land on that deer. And sure as shit, I landed on the deer. I mashed L and I tamed it, and I was fucking riding around on a deer.
Riding around on a deer.
And it was just like,
That's
yes.
sweet. I didn't know you could do
I was
that.
like, holy crap, I just freaking tamed this deer. And it's so cool because the animations when it's running, like it prances like a deer. It doesn't gallop like a horse, but you're totally riding on this deer. And I was just like, that's amazing. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, hey, I wonder if I could ride that deer. And like, I literally just paraglided straight onto the deer. Like, it wasn't even like I creeped up behind it. Like, I was paragliding down, landed on top of the deer, and then of course it's bucking and everything. But you mash the L1 button and it eventually calms down. And sure enough, I just started prancing around on a deer that I just randomly landed on because I was paragliding. It was pretty dope.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've had similar experiences for like when I did like horses. I mean, I remember like paragliding from a tower that I had unlocked, and I came across a field of horses, and I landed upon the biggest horse there because it was I think it was, now that I think about it, it was sort of like a black horse with kind of like orange sort of thing. I think it may have been like
That's
Ganon's
slightly
horse.
racist. Can we recant that statement, please?
My main horse is black with a white mane. I call him Oreo.
Mine's more of a Dalmatian kind of thing, and I call him Gables. So there you go. Woo! That was a big one. You guys hear that at all?
What the hell was that?
Yeah, that definitely came across. That was
lightning.
thunder.
We're having a pretty decent thunderstorm. That scared the shit out of me. Holy crap!
Holy shit,
yeah,
dude!
Hopefully your internet holds up.
We have a
Yeah, that was loud.
we have a thunderstorm going on right now.
For a moment there,
Is your dog freaking the fuck out?
He is passed the fuck out.
Wow.
Normally he
Man.
doesn't like lightning, but he's
Yeah, no, most dogs don't. Like, stuff like that will drive
I
them
thought a
nuts.
horse's run paging through his house right now.
yeah. I'm surprised Gables didn't just start pouncing around the house. Freaking out.
There you go.
I'm gonna buy a dog just so I can name him Gables.
Oh my god!
There you
that's
go.
Funny.
Go on, Gables. I'm sorry.
Oh man, but yeah, had that moment and stuff where I paraglided, found a field of horses, landed on top of the horse and stuff, but it bucked me off as soon as I landed on it because I ran out of stamina.
Oh, yeah. Oh, freaking, when I was trying to catch Oreo, like, because Oreo's a solid colored horse, and they're supposed to be, like, the more difficult ones, I think he bucked me off, like, 5 or 6 times before I was able to, like, calm him down enough to actually ride him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's supposed to be all sorts of different mounts inside the game, like, from my understanding, and the thing about...
A deer.
Oh yeah, a deer, obviously. I didn't know about deer. I actually may want to try that later on, but... oh man, just searching into, like, how much stuff you could technically do in the game. I mean, you can actually take photographs of almost anything inside this game.
Flowers.
Dude, like 900
animals.
Korok seeds and stuff like that. That's crazy in and of itself. I don't know how, but somebody managed to find all of them.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've figured out what you get for getting them all yet.
Oh yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
out there.
yeah, it's out
Oh,
there,
okay.
but
That's
it's
cool.
Probably not going to be as surprising.
I don't need to know. I'm just curious if they figured it out.
Yep, it's a thing. It's pretty funny. I got a good chuckle out of it.
Oh my
Cool.
gosh.
I might seek that out one day, because I don't know if I'll ever actually try and get all 900 seeds.
So let's see. There's,
I beat the game. I played 40 hours of it, and I got 11. So I'm not gonna
Damn,
find all 900.
that's not a lot at all.
No, I had barely.
I'm constantly finding them. It's like I see something that's just kind of weird. Like yesterday when I was playing, I was on top of a mountain, and there were these giant boulders, and they were all in a circle, but there was one boulder in the middle, and I was like, huh, that's weird. So first I thought, well, maybe if I like push one of the boulders to hit that middle boulder, like that'll do something, and I did that, and it didn't work. So I was like, huh. So I started looking around, and there was a divot in the ground where one boulder could get, like it could sit in it, and it was around the circle. I was like, okay, I bet that middle boulder needs to be in that little divot. So I used the stasis and like knocked the boulder over to where the hole was, and nothing happened because I had already displaced one of the other boulders. So then I had to use stasis to try and get that boulder back up the hill to where it would originally sit, and then sure enough, a little Korok seed popped up. Like there's all kinds of little weird things like that it's like, this is weird. I bet this is something like, and so there was one I came up, there were 3 trees just sitting on top of this hill, like in line. They were all the same, like apple tree. And I was like, well, there's got to be a Korok seed here, but I couldn't figure out the secret to get it. Like, I was like, well, maybe if I knock all the apples off. So I jumped up on the things and knocked all the apples off, and no, that didn't work. I was like, I wonder if I chop them all down. So I pulled out my axe and chopped down all 3 of these trees, and nothing happened. I was like, nope. And now I have nothing to do with these trees anymore. So I just walked away. But I was like, there's definitely a Korok seed there. I just don't know what the secret is to unlocking it.
Oh, man. The Korok seeds, I think I only found about 20-something during my 60 hours of playtime. Let's see, I spent... And this is the thing, the final score for me, when I finally beat the game, it's like I went through, spent about 60 hours playing the game, found about 53 shrines, went through and got like about, 21, 22 Korok seeds and stuff, went through the Divine Beasts. Before I even faced Ganon, Calamity Ganon and stuff like that, I had went through and beat all 4 of those Divine Beasts and stuff like that, which I gotta tell you, though, once you do get into the Divine Beast stuff, each one of them is unique in and of itself. But one thing I will say, it's like the bosses of each of those different Divine Beasts, I mean, they're interesting the way, like, a lot of their patterns are, the stuff like that. I mean, honestly, I am not going to say which one you should take on first, because I would leave that up to you, because, to be perfectly honest, I went forth, and the first Divine Beast I went through and stuff like that, I ended up finding out it was probably one of the hardest ones that you could possibly take on first. And I didn't care, I didn't realize it at the time, but after a few tries, I actually beat the darn thing, and that's just one of the good glowing examples of the Zelda game, because even though you're at a point and stuff where you're not heavily as strong, you can go into later areas and stuff like that, and you could still technically go through and beat a boss when you actually without being so overwhelmed or underpowered for a certain extent. But what I found really easy and stuff is when you get to a point and stuff where you can go through and find these specific type of arrows and stuff like that that you'll come across after collecting enough materials and stuff. It actually makes certain battles a lot easier. As a matter of fact, there's these... I've used these arrows and stuff, and sometimes enemies will... Probably some of the strongest enemies I face on the field will actually disappear completely once I use them. I actually just sucked into they just disappeared to nothingness. Nothing's left behind or anything. No goodies or whatever. It's kind of disheartening, though, but it's kind of fun. But especially when you face off against something that are kind of silver in color. Now, here's the thing about it is, there are some enemies that have different types of colors that depend upon their difficulty. So the regular bokoblins are kind of the brown, traditional sort of things and stuff. But then you'll face off against ones that are blue and then maybe black or something like that. The hardest ones that I've come across are silver in color. Silver in color, pretty much. Yeah. So it's okay, once you go through and beat them, sometimes they'll have some of the most high coveted sort of drop items. For instance, I faced off against 2 silver bokoblins today, and I ended up getting all these kind of little rare stones. I got an opal, got a ruby, got a sapphire, and stuff like that just from defeating these couple enemies and stuff. But they were tanks in terms of their HP and stuff. But I think it more or less had to do because I didn't explore the entirety of every little secret little nook and cranny and stuff. It's like I said before, over the past podcast or two and stuff, is I basically went forth through my playthrough, explored all the towers. That's the first thing that I did, because I was trying to make things easier for me to try to find different shrines in order to take them out, accumulate and stuff like that. So, having done that and stuff, it made the progress a lot more easier. So for all I could have known is those type of enemies possibly could have been there for quite a while without me even noticing. Or that's the thing. I beat the game, I played a little bit of it today, and I encountered these enemies and stuff like that I had no idea were even still there. So it's I'm still discovering things. And what's kind of funny is I got into a battle with one of these big old these big old like creatures and stuff that'll only appear like maybe 2 places, and they are so huge. This thing is so freaking huge, but it drops probably some of the most useful items that you'll use in order to craft specific types of armor and other types of things, and even selling them off is like big buko type of like rupees that you'll make from it.
Yeah.
But I'll say this though, when it comes to money matters, there's a specific place by the Hibra Tower that I would suggest anybody go to if they're starting off and stuff. If you want to explore all the things, you'll find this one mini game. It'll be simple for you to grind for rupees. You just have to try a little bit, and you only have to spend maybe a little bit in order to invest in this specific mini game. But the payoff, it is great. You will start accumulating rupees pretty covenantly if you're especially good at the mini game. But at least you'll be able to afford some of the higher end things, especially when you go to specific areas of the game where you'll need some better armor and whatsoever. So it's like
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I earned about 3,000 rupees. Earned exactly, actually, 3,000 rupees in about 15, 20 minutes. So,
well, let's see. I used
an easy way to.
I used this method predominantly to
you can pretty much get anything you want.
Help. Well, not just purchase anything you want and stuff like that, but I used it pretty much like to pay off a lot of the fairy fountain stuff. Because here's the thing, fairy fountains in this game, the thing about them is they're there to try to enhance certain things like armor or like specific things that you wear, but for a price. The thing about it is, in order to open them, you have to spend rupees. But what you may not know is, once you go through, each specific fairy fountain stuff is really dependent upon how much like rupees and stuff. They're like increments of almost like 10 and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, the first fairy fountain, regardless of where you visit, you have to spend like about 100 rupees. The second is like, I think it was like, what was it, 500?
500 for the second.
Yeah, 500 for the second. The third one is like 1,000, and the last one is 10,000 rupees. Which, that's insane. Oh, boy. But, yeah, after you do all that and stuff like that, you can actually increase them. You can actually upgrade certain armor pieces and stuff to the max of what they can do. Which is very useful. But I didn't have to max out any type of armor to beat the game.
Yeah, I didn't either. I ended up with, I think combined total with my armor was like 32 or something like that. So I didn't have. I was going in with like some basic armor. I just souped up, and a couple other couple other little things. So nothing too crazy. But I mean, if you go in there with some of the more powerful armor, you can easily you'd be unstoppable.
Oh yeah,
that's some of the things I've seen.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially if you're trying to collect different armor types and stuff like that to do like full costumes and stuff. Mm-hmm. Which I have seen that there are wide varieties of costumes that you can like accumulate and find either through specific types of chests or like throughout the adventure itself. And it's kind of crazy. Not only the amount of detail that Nintendo went into like putting forth all the different types of ways that you can customize yourself, but especially if you have a lot of the amiibo, like I personally do, you can unlock things like, say, the Cap of Time or something like that from Ocarina of Time, or the Wind Tunic or something from Wind Waker. And you can just have full costumes of like past Zelda games and stuff. Like I even got the cap of like Twilight Princess Link, and I even got like Zelda's bow and stuff from Twilight's Princess and stuff.
Nice. It's
just little things like that just make the whole experience seem a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I ended up with 2/3 of the Wind Waker outfit collection, I guess. I had the trousers and the cap. And I had one of the Ocarina of Time ones. I will say about the amiibo stuff. If you do that every day, man, like that. I don't want to say it breaks the game, but you're pretty much golden as far as like food and arrows go. Like you don't have to worry about that shit anymore.
Yeah, another thing I noticed was like when I was doing my initial playthrough and stuff, I didn't have to really cook all that much. I mean, I did experiment with different recipes. I did go through and like had like health recovering items, stuff to make for to try to increase fire stuff and everything else. Fire resistant stuff. As a matter of fact, speaking of fire resistant stuff, I went through a lot of that stuff, and I still had like excess left over and stuff after completing a certain part.
Yeah.
Oh boy. It just talking about this game just makes me just really want to just go back and play more of it.
Yeah, it's
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, I
Yep.
can hear you. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Troy always has a
Yeah, no, I mean, a little inside baseball. My Skype just keeps crapping out on the MacBook. So what I did was I joined the Skype call on my iPad. So I'm talking to you guys on my iPad, but I'm also still recording my audio. So I didn't stop recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No problem.
that's good.
Should be seamless. I missed all that conversation about Zelda. Anyway, it's a good game.
Yeah, a little inside baseball on Zelda with some of the costumes and fairy stuff. And
Oh,
We- you
cool.
can,
I'm glad you guys were able to keep everything working while I was trying to troubleshoot my internet woes.
well, luckily it was Zelda, because if it was anything else, we would have been screwed.
I'm trying to think of like anything else I can just cover base here with the game. I mean, oh man, you know what? I can talk about a specific shrine that I thought was really interesting, and it was actually like a various shrine quest. Now, there's this particular shrine that is way far away, like in the northeast of the map. And the thing about it is, once you get there, you come across this big old elaborate like labyrinth. And I mean, this is a crazy-ass labyrinth. You try to climb the walls there, there is all these guardians guarding everything, like, basically. And what you have to do is you have to find a way to navigate throughout this entire labyrinth in order to get to the actual, shrine itself. And once you finally do that and stuff like that, you get the little orb and everything else and stuff. But just the process of finding out where I needed to go and all this other stuff, it took me at least about a good solid 20 minutes just to find my way. Just because I was looking at the map, looking at like my little thing just to make sure I'm at the right like angles and stuff like that. And I was just following the little map cursor in the lower right-hand corner of my screen and stuff, and I managed to figure out my way. I mean, I made a couple of wrong turns here and there.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, it was definitely a challenge in and of itself, but it just made me feel like... it made me feel like it was like more accomplished and stuff. And that's just the thing about this game in and of itself that just makes the experience all the more special is each shrine doesn't really feel like a repeat of before. I mean, there are specific like types of shrines that do repeat themselves, but
That's the strength, stuff like that, yeah.
the thing about it is all of them seem vastly different in certain aspects than the last, and that's what makes it a lot more fresh. And it also makes me want to go out and just find a bunch more.
Yeah. I actually, to kind of go over me real quick, I finished the game, much like you, did all 4 Divine Beasts, put about 40 hours in. I ended up with 41 shrines.
Yeah.
So I my goal going in was to get the Master Sword, beat the Divine Beast, beat all 4 Divine Beasts, do about 40 something shrines, and then obviously stop the Calamity. And I went in like 41 shrines done, and I actually found 4 or 5 shrines where the challenge of the shrine was either finding it or getting to it.
Yes.
So when you went into the shrine, all you had to do was climb the stairs, get the orb. There was no challenge inside the shrine, which I thought was kind of cool. And then I did a couple other ones where like I some of my most enjoyable ones, not maybe enjoyable ones, more the ones that came out of like more like you were talking about. You felt really good about yourself.
Yes.
The ones that the test of strengths. When you found the ones where it was like the test of strength was you're just fighting like the little mini guardian guys, and some of those, especially the top level ones, were super tough.
Oh yes.
And intense, and going in there and like using every freaking health food I have, and using most of my weapons, or at least all my good ones, and taking this guy out. And doing all that was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love. I want. This game took me about 40 hours to beat, and I feel like if I didn't have a buttload of games in the back to like sitting here for me to still beat, I would probably put 50, 60 more hours in this game easily, because I was getting so distracted by like I probably could beat this game like 20, 25 hours. But it's just like I go in, like I had these goals, like I mentioned earlier, that I wanted to do going in this game, and I would freaking be working on those goals, and then all of a sudden, like, what the hell's that over there? Like, wander off. Next thing I know, it's 4 hours later. I didn't even accomplish the thing I was meant to do, and I just did all these other things.
That was like my first 4 hours playing the game, personally. But but let me ask you, did you actually did you know that you can actually turn in like Korok seeds and stuff in order to expand like inventory slots?
I didn't know it until I went on to one of the first mission you do after you do the first 4 shrines and get out of the Great Plateau to go to Kriko Village. I didn't know about it until then, but I had like 3 at that point. I was able to extend it once, but yeah, I didn't know until I bumped into the guy.
I'll tell you this right now. I did not know that you can expand the inventory slots for weapons and for armor until the day after I beat the game.
Holy crap.
Oh, dang.
I did not upgrade a single one of my inventory slots. I went through all my weapons. I went through all my armor, all my shields, and this and that and stuff like that. And to be perfectly honest, I love, even despite not having done that, not realizing I could expand my slots, that I was still able to house some of the more powerful weapons, use a lot of my inventory things, which I hardly ever do inside other games, and I still managed to beat this game.
Yeah, that's crazy. You like straight handicapped yourself.
Yeah, without even realizing it.
I only expanded my inventory 3 times, and all 3 times were for weapons, like swords.
That's the thing about me with certain video games, like the open world games, or even like games that I wasn't even aware of and stuff. Odds on, I'm gonna find the hardest hardest boss first thing, and another thing is I'm probably gonna handicap myself in some way where people are like, "How the hell did you do this?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know, but I did it."
Yeah, there's no easy way for Gables. He's gonna go in the hard way.
And that's how I create the legend. But
there you go.
What I will say to new players that are going into Breath of the Wild, and to people who are currently playing it, haven't gotten too far into it and stuff like that, remember, 13 is the magic number for hearts. Don't ask why, just keep the number 13 in mind.
But 1 is always the loneliest number.
Exactly.
Troy, did you have anything else you want to add for Breath of the Wild before we move on?
No, actually, I mean, I haven't really done much. I think I played maybe another 20, 30 minutes. I got 1 shrine. I saw my first memory. Got a few Korok seeds, and that's about it. Like, I haven't really done much. I did go see Impa for the second time, which is when she told me that I needed to go find the memories. And then the way I found the first memory was I helped the guy in Kakariko Village, the guy who's looking for the Great Fairy fountain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you know what? Yeah. There's another little factoid, too. When I was doing my playthrough, I did not find Kakariko Village until after I had beaten 3 Divine Beasts.
Oh, shit.
That's crazy. No, I went straight there because that's kind of where the ghost had sent you.
Well, that's just
that's
the
where
thing.
I headed straight there.
That's the thing that I didn't realize, because I did not have all the map unlocked and stuff. I did not know where the Kakariko Village was, and so I was going along everywhere trying to see if I could find it, like, up on my travels. And that's how I ended up going through discovering and like going through and like unlocking all the different towers. So I did not go to Kakariko Village first off, so I had no idea that I could recover certain memory things or do this or do that. or even unlocking the fairy fountain that's close to there. So I unlocked, and I faced off against so many tumultuous like challenges. Like there were like tar pits, there were like freaking like electric like whiz orbs and stuff like that in certain places. Oh my god! But I laughed when I found it. It's like, oh my god, I finally found it.
That's crazy. Yeah, because you like circumnavigated the map before you even
I was like
located
30 hours in at that point.
That's crazy. Like I did all that in the first 3 or 4 hours. That's crazy.
Yeah, like I said, I've been there, and whatever the second village with the research center. Yeah, like those are the only 2 major places that I've been along the way. I did so the one memory I found was at the east gate of whatever something or other. That was the one memory I've seen so far.
Or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's all I've done in Zelda. I spent a little time with that. I'm also still working on Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth.
Yeah.
I have left Lestation, and I have now ventured into the land of Leanbox, whose goddess is Lady Greenheart. I think you can figure out from that what land this is based off of, what PlayStation, what console this is based off of, which is actually the Xbox. And it's kind of funny too because the goddess Lady Greenheart, she's a serious hardcore gamer. She keeps talking about her backlog and everything like that. It's like I said, super charming. This game is really good. A lot of the humor and stuff, and it's a gamer's game basically. Really enjoying that. And also, right before we started recording, I decided to hop on to some Overwatch because they have a new event going on. Like, you know, they hold these holiday events or whatever, and I think the theme of this one is kind of a throwback to before the actual timeline of Overwatch as it exists starts. It's like in the universe of Overwatch where there was this good group that was Overwatch, and they were fighting against I don't know, I can't remember what they called them. Anyway, it's in the lore, and so they have a new holiday thing going on where you can play through some PvE. Yeah, PvE, right? That's where like it's co-op. Yeah, they have like a co-op thing. Yeah, so they have a co-op thing there, which is kind of supposed to be pretty dope. But usually I try and get on and get all the loot boxes during these events because you get to unlock all the rare skins and everything like that. But one of the things they have is Diva's basically my main, and she doesn't have any new skins in this event, but she does have an intro video for like when you have like a play of the game. So when anybody has a play of the game at the end of the match, it'll play the play of the game, and then they have an intro video that you can unlock that you put ahead of that. And so for Diva, her new intro is it's called Selfie, and what happens is Diva, she sets off her mech, which is like her ultimate, and what happens is the mech goes flying, kind of off into the distance, and basically what it is it goes nuclear and it blows up. So she like sets off her mech and she sets it down the map, and then she turns around and she pulls out her cell phone and she takes a selfie as the mech's exploding in the background. So it's actually pretty dope. So I was like, I have to get that intro video. So I went and it was like 750 credits to unlock it, and rather than trying to get it out of a loot box. And I had 800 credits, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy this outright. So I bought it and activated it, and then I was like, well, I'm here, I'll just play a match real quick. So I played a match, and during that match I happened to get play of the game, so I got to actually see that intro video in action, which was pretty dope. I actually posted the video on Facebook and Twitter, so if anybody happens to follow me there, you can see the video of my play of the game. It was like literally my first match since I think the last time I played was around Christmas, like when they were having the Christmas event. I missed the whole year of the new Chinese New Year event that they had, and it's literally been what now 6 months? What is it? No, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Because it was December when I played last, and my very first match I got play of the game, which was pretty dope.
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. My week has been super busy with school. I had this week alone, I had a 16-page paper to turn in. I had 3 2-page papers. I had a 20-minute presentation to prepare and present, and 2 discussions. I had a lot of stuff to do this week. It's been a busy-ass week. So I didn't have a lot of time to game. But I guess I did manage to, play a little bit here and there. So I'll call it a victory. I've got, as we're sitting now, Less than a month. I graduate on May 13th, and today is April 15th. So I'm less than a month away from graduation.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's pretty exciting. I'm ready to be done with it.
I don't blame
I
you.
understand. Especially when you're at the finish line. You're just kind of
Yeah.
crawling along.
Yep, that was my week in gaming.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm at the point now with where I'm just like, it's like, do I want to sleep, or do I want to play games for a couple hours more? And that's
There was
kind of where I'm.
There was that meme that kind of circulated the internet this week, where the person's got they've got a wall and they've got sleep, work, and eat.
Yep.
Right, or food.
I think it was something.
And then they're holding the little box for video games, and it's like I have no room for this. And then they're like trying to pull the little box for sleep as well. Well, maybe.
Yeah, and that's I actually posted that meme myself too. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing in the last few weeks, especially with Zelda. I start playing the game by like 7 o'clock at night, and it's like, look over, it's like, fuck, it's like 9:30. I gotta be up at 4:30. I'll play for like 21 minutes. Look over, fuck, it's 11 o'clock. God damn it, did it again. That's been my life the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
With that.
That's probably. I mean, do you have any other games you want to talk about?
No, not really. I've been playing.
I was going to say, because that's probably a pretty good segue. We were talking about finishing Zelda, which a lot of people say is the only game to have for Switch, but we can talk about this Nintendo Direct that they had. I didn't get to watch it, so you guys can kind of fill me in on the details.
Oh yeah, no, that's where I was going to go first with the news. Like I said, segueing into it, there was finally a Direct. A lot of some big stuff coming out of it, and a lot of little things too. There's packed a lot into a 35-minute long Direct. I'm gonna go real quick. A lot of the small things, and we can discuss it if we want to. There was a lot more small things, but I kind of covered the slightly bigger small things, like the medium-sized things, I guess. But anyways,
You got a filter.
yeah. So kind of the first thing they jumped into was a lot of 3DS stuff. Hey Pikmin is a 3DS game they announced a few months ago. Is coming out to 3DS on July 28th, and it'll also have a new amiibo coming with it, and it's all 5 different Pikmins together, which looks pretty cool. Pre-order that one. Moving on, they have also, it's 25th anniversary of Kirby. So they have 3 Kirby games coming out this year. Kirby Clash Deluxe, which is like I believe this is the 4-player one. Looks more like a kind of a hack and slash kind of one. It's free to start, meaning basically download a demo. If you want to buy it, you can buy and continue on from there. Kirby Blowout Blast looks more like a top-down kind of platformer version. Also coming out this summer for 3DS. And then a new multiplayer Kirby game is coming out later this year for 3DS. That's all they said about that. So three big Kirby games coming out this year for 3DS, celebrating its anniversary. This next one's more for Justin. Bye Bye Box Boy, the third and final game of the Box Boy trilogy, is out, and it's out now. Came out later on the afternoon, the day of the Direct, I think on Wednesday or Thursday for that. And then also they announced 3 new Zelda amiibo are coming June 23rd. Is a Majora's Mask one, a Skyward Sword one, and then one other one I can't remember what it's for. And then also the final 3 Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS amiibos are coming out. Bayonetta, Cloud, and Corrin. They're out on July 21st. So that's kind of the medium-sized stuff that came out at the very beginning of the Direct. Obviously, there's some smaller stuff in there, but that's kind of the main stuff. Any of this stuff do anything for you guys?
Oh, there's definitely a couple of things that are interesting about it. I mean, I like the idea that we're finally getting those amiibo and stuff like that finally after Smash Brothers is released, for Cloud,
Yep.
Bayonetta, and for
Corn.
the one for Fire Emblem as well. I mean, fuck. I mean, the Smash Brothers games have been out for a couple of years now.
2014?
Yeah, for at least a couple of years, so I'm glad they finally were able to get the DLC stuff out of the way and stuff. And I kind of find it funny, the timing of their announcement stuff after Bayonetta finally drops on Steam.
Yeah. Works out.
That is funny.
But
the Zelda amiibo, there's 11 amiibo now that are Zelda themed.
Oh, I have them all. I can count, I guess. There's definitely 11 or 12.
I think there was 8 before, and now with these 3, it's going to be
let's
11
see.
Oh no,
total?
I think it's gonna be like 13 or 14 now with the.
Oh,
There were
wow.
the Smash Brothers stuff
That's a lot.
originally, and then you have the individual themes like for the Ocarina of Time, like Link. Then you
I'll go count. Give me 2 seconds. Continue talking.
there's a couple different like Toon Link ones as well. It's like it's funny because there's a package where
And
it's
they
like
had the 30th anniversary one.
the 30th anniversary ones are the ones I was talking about. The 8-bit Link, then you had Ocarina of
Yeah, the
Time,
8-bit.
then you had the package thing for Toon Link and Toon Zelda and stuff like that. But
They had the Twilight Princess with the Wolf Link.
the Wolf Link and stuff, that was like a special thing if you bought like Twilight Princess for Wii U. And
Breath of the Wild has 3 of them.
Breath of the Wild actually has like about 5.
There's 4 for those. There's 14 right now out for Zelda, and there's 3 more, so
Jeez.
17.
You're going to be 17 total. That's by far the most amiibo for one franchise, like by a mile, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Like Mario, maybe.
Even more than Mario. I think I have almost all the Marios, if not including like they have like 3 different like. I guess I have 5 Marios. God damn.
Well, let's see.
Man.
Looking up on my
Stupid.
little display that I got right in front of me right now, it's like I got for the whole Breath of the Wild thing. There was like 5 separate amiibo. There's the Bokoblin, there's the Guardian, there's Rider Link, Archer Link, and Princess Zelda.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, there is 5. Holy shit.
I know it was just
Yeah.
funny because I got the last one like about like a couple days after. That was like a $20 amiibo, dude. That was like crazy.
Yeah, the Guardian.
Yeah, it's huge, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
I've seen people like use it as a Switch stand, the Guardian amiibo.
It is.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, nothing jumps out at me super great. I don't have a whole lot of affinity for Kirby. Pikmin was a lot of fun. From what I understand, what I've heard, this new Pikmin game is a 2D Pikmin game,
Yeah.
which will be kind of interesting.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of the last hurrah though for 3DS.
This
which
last
might not be
year.
a bad way to go out with. If hopefully Pikmin's good. I've never been a big. I like the idea of Pikmin and I enjoy when I play of them, but it fucks with my
It's
anxiety.
not something you seek out.
Yeah, Pikmin fucks with my anxiety. There's the whole time limit shit. I can't play the game. It fucks me up, so I don't do it. So yeah.
But yeah, traditionally, whenever like a Nintendo system or even like Nintendo handheld things go off, you always have like that specific type of games that come out like towards the end of its life cycle. Like for example, there are like big epic like certain RPGs that release kind of late in the life cycle of all Nintendo consoles that generally would go through like just give it like the last hurrah and stuff. Like say the Fire Emblem game, which we heard almost next to. We didn't hear anything about the Fire Emblem game for 3DS for this direct.
They announced the season pass for the game, but they
Well,
did a
yeah.
whole Fire Emblem Direct like a month ago. So
Yeah, they did that earlier on this year and stuff. But the Pikmin thing actually looks pretty interesting because it's a platformer, and I kind of like the idea of doing that since I do have the games of Pikmin, but I have not beat any of the Pikmin games. So I really would like to play little Captain Malamar, do this and do that and stuff. Kirby stuff, I'm kind of more excited about what they're going to unveil, the yet to be like unveiled like Kirby game and stuff, since what I've seen right there looks like they look like kind of the mini games you would get like from the big line Kirby games. Let's say Planet Robobot. I'm kind of looking at for like inspiration and stuff. The whole Bye Bye Box Boy. I mean that you know what? I haven't played any of the Box Boy stuff, so probably somewhere down the line. But
yeah, Justin's been talking those games up for a couple of years now. So
yeah, I understand. But the thing coming out of this direct, I'm glad they made a big emphasis on their 3DS stuff first, foremost, and stuff just to get it out of the way, because we did not know anything that was going to be coming out like towards the remainder of this year, but also potentially the beginning of next year. Because it's like what you're saying, Tyler, and stuff. This is probably the last full year we're going to have the 3DS before it starts to wind down with maybe little sprinkles of something here and there on 2018.
yeah,
But the big news for 3DS wise, I think, had a regard to not only just like the whole like Kirby stuff though, but what else was there? I'm trying to think.
they had like Yokai Watch 2 they released another one of those.
Yeah.
Ever Oasis got a release date.
Oh yeah.
A few other things, but these are kind of key ones. Yeah, I don't know. if this is it, if these games are good, the Kirby games and the Pikmin games are good, then it's just kind of like get them out there kind of things, and not a bad way to go out.
Oh yeah,
feels like it's going out with a boom.
So the big question is, what's coming up for the Switch?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So those are the key things. So when they announced the Nintendo Direct, they said they were going to talk about ARMS and Splatoon 2. That was the key things they were going to talk about. And they spent a good chunk of time talking about both of those games. So kind of the rest of things that happened in the back half of the Direct was they showed off a bunch of ARMS, showed off some more characters, some of the different attacks they do. There's one, there's like the ramen girl where she has like one of her arms is a ramen noodle, basically.
Rin.
It shoots like halfway across the map. Yep.
I thought they were all ramen noodles.
Not all of them. It's like one of them's
No,
like
one girl.
like one of the arms is like a ramen noodle arm. The other one's like a dragon cannon or something. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's
I thought they all looked like a bunch of like telephone cords for people who remember what old telephone cords
They
were.
kind of did look like telephone cords, like springs or something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, they did. They showed off a match and kind of like more detail on what the game is and the characters they're going to have in the game. They're definitely trying to sell this game on the characters.
What's you guys' opinion on it?
Yeah, they announced a release date for ARMS, June 16th. Yep. A couple other things real quick. They also are releasing on the same day, June 16th, neon yellow Joy-Cons, and then also a battery, AA battery pack you can attach to your Joy-Cons to extend the battery life.
So you can have your Switch look like it's got a couple tennis balls attached to the end of it?
Basically, yeah.
That's what it looked like to me.
I feel like, normally like there's like 50,000 different versions of the 3DS out there. And Nintendo loves having different models and different colors and all that shit. But
and the cool thing about the Switch is the controllers are modular, so you could totally just buy different colored, themed controllers.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're going with this. Like, we're not gonna have like a million different versions of the Switch itself, but we're gonna have a million different versions of the Joy-Con itself, which is cool. And plus, you can mix and match if you want to.
Dude, I actually kind of like the yellow Joy-Cons for what they are, because they're bright, they're colorful, and they also, it's like, I really loved the idea that they had behind the Joy-Con controllers, just put little different colors, just different things right there you could buy separately if you want. I mean, hell, $80, fuck, I hate it. I know it's high and stuff, but I'm actually kind of tempted to see if I can get like a yellow one at this time.
I'm waiting for like
they remind me. They remind me of those tennis shoes that they put out a bunch of years ago that were literally like the tennis ball material. Like they were just bright yellow, like you were wearing a tennis ball on your feet. That's what I think of when I see these. I mean, I got the gray Joy-Cons. I like my stuff being kind of low key and like fly under the radar. So I mean, I respect all the bright colors, but like it's not something that appeals to me. And the neon yellow probably appeals to me even less than the blue and the red do, honestly. Yeah. But I mean, like it's just every time I see it on the internet, like it reminds me of a tennis ball.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it'd be cool to have some different colors, but I'm not willing to pay the $80 for the different colors.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. But they also announced that Monopoly is coming out for the Switch this fall. And Splatoon 2 is getting a new game mode called Salmon Run. It's kind of like a horde mode from like Gears of War kind of thing, where it's four friends get together or four people get together and they stop waves of enemies. And the game is coming out surprisingly July 21st. So ARMS June 16th, Splatoon 2 July 21st.
So like over a month.
Two big things coming on this. Yeah.
From each other. Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff that's coming out in the meantime. You got the Street Fighter, you've got the Puyo Puyo Tetris is coming out pretty soon. Like, there's a lot of other smaller games, that, I mean, it seems like they're trickling out at a fairly decent rate. I mean, depending on what your tastes are in Switch games, like, there's going to be people who are bitching that there's no games out, but, like, there will be games out, just whether or not they're games that you're interested in is the question.
Yeah. Like, for me, I have pretty much little to no interest in ARMS. As a $60 title, like it's kind of like 1-2 Switch. It's like 1-2 Switch, I would play if that was like a $20 title or a pack-in. Like ARMS, if it's a $20-$30 game, I would probably check it out. But I don't know. From what we've seen, it doesn't feel like there's enough content there to make me want to invest $60 into.
I feel kind of the opposite of that way, where this is a game where it mostly intrigues me in that certain concept, where I see a bunch of the different types of combinations you could do with the little arms and stuff, especially from the little video that they showed to us. Different types of character that just look weird and wacky and stuff, able to mix up the little the specific types of arm weapons in and of itself. Like there's like a whip weapon, there's like heavy weapons, like light and stuff like that. I like the complexity of what they're aiming for, so I feel like it's worth the $60 in terms for myself, because I like these type of like area type of fighting games. I mean, I'm a fan of like games like Power Stone, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go through upon this map, maybe not collect a lot of the power ups or something like that, but I feel like that ARMS is sort of reminds me of Power Stone in a way, where it's kind of an open type of world thing where you're just duking it out with an opponent and stuff, and then just going through. And it also mixes in some key things like from Punch-Out as well. It's like you're trying to figure out the right type of pattern or something to defeat your opponent with these different stylings of like arm weapons that you got. So, you know, I'm very much in the group or something like that, where once it comes out like in June, it fits in right well with what I want to try to do, because I look at it this way. Since the launch of the Switch, I've played nothing but Zelda. I'm finished with Zelda, waiting a couple weeks here until Mario Kart 8 comes out, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'll probably play that for a good solid like month and stuff, and maybe in time, you know, it'll probably be around the time where I get ARMS, and then leading off into Splatoon 2. It's actually a perfect wave for me right now.
Yeah.
Does ARMS, is it single player focused, or does it have multiplayer focus?
It does have multiplayer things. You can actually do like 2-on-2 matches and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's one thing that they did show off in the direct, is they announced there is 2v2, but it feels like it's more they're focusing more on the 2v2, but it's definitely a game where you can just do single player. But that's my thing, is like, what is there in the single player mode? Is it just like a typical arcade mode, or is it like, is there a story behind it? Like, I'm more of a kind of story mode kind of gamer. So, but go ahead. What are you on this, Troy?
Like I said, I'm curious. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be multiplayer focused or single player focused. If it's just a throwaway single player, is kind of like a tutorial sort of thing, almost like the first Splatoon. Like the single player just kind of taught you, you know, the basics of the game. I mean, they had the boss fights and stuff, but I feel like it wasn't a complete package. Like, it wasn't a game that you were buying for the single player. It was definitely multiplayer focused. And if it is multiplayer focused, then is it local multiplayer?
Yes.
Is it online multiplayer?
It is.
So
they do have local.
So local multiplayer, like, it ostensibly I'll need to get another set of Joy-Cons, because I only have the one set of Joy-Cons. So, you know, like, that's stuff to take into account, and how often I'll have people around me who are interested in playing this. I can maybe drag my wife into playing it from time to time, but, you know, like, I don't know if this is a game that necessarily fits into my lifestyle. Yeah. It's a cool concept for sure, but I'm not sold on it. You know, maybe once it comes out, I'll see the coverage and see some footage of it and everything like that, and maybe I can make a decision based off of that. But as of right now, it's not anything that's like super on my radar, especially for $60.
And they did you can use the Pro Controller for this game as well. It's not.
Oh, okay. So it's not all motion control?
No, not at all. No. You have the options to use the Pro, or even like different types of control styles.
Oh, see, my impression of it was like a Wii game where you had the two Joy-Cons and you're using them to basically waggle your way through a fight.
Yeah, that's initially what I thought as well.
That was my impression of it.
It seems like an expansion upon like Wii Boxing, and they're really going for like the whole, like, hey, it's motion control stuff. You remember Wii Boxing from 2006? That was cool, right? What was the other game? The Mike Tyson's Punch-Out kind of thing. But it's, you know, you could just use a regular controller, which is probably the one saving grace at this point for me for that game. But it's coming out, I think, right after E3, so maybe I think E3 might be its thing, like the big final chance to just kind of sell me on this game, because, like you, I think we're in the same exact boat where it's like, we can be swayed, but right now we are. You know, it's a hard no for us. At this point.
Skeptical.
Yes,
skeptical at best.
I'm never gonna be a hard no with Nintendo again after Splatoon. Like, I blasted that game when they first announced it on this podcast a few years ago, and then I ended up loving that game.
I ended up becoming one of your favorite games on that system too.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite games of that year. I think 2014.
So, tell me about this battery pack. Like, so it takes AA batteries.
Yeah,
it
so
expands
it hooks up,
the battery capacity.
It hooks up to the back of your Joy-Cons. They didn't really say battery life, how much. I don't think they said how many more hours it extends to it. But it's going to extend the hours to the battery life. No price, anything. Really, there was little to no detail announced to it. It said they'll be out on June 6th. June 16th. Yep, with the ARMS.
Have you guys had any issues with the battery life in your Joy-Cons?
I never used them. So I don't know.
I'll be pretty
So,
much
like, ostensibly the only way you're using them is if you're playing in handheld
pretty
mode.
much.
Yeah, I think so. I use them for like an hour or two, like watching. I'm playing Zelda, watching wrestling, or watching something on TV. But for the, like 95% of the time I've used my Switch, it's been with my Pro Controller.
And in handheld mode, the Joy-Con's not the weak link as far as battery life. Like, the Switch itself is going to run out of battery long before the Joy-Cons will.
Yep.
Yes, from what I understand,
Because like you got 3 hours of battery life in the console, and like from what I think I've heard, there's like 20 hours of battery in a Joy-Con.
yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah, with the Joy-Con, like I don't really feel like that was. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing where I don't really feel like it's that important. Like I don't feel like people are like. Unless you're doing like,
Is this a product that's in demand? Like, are people demanding an extra battery pack
No.
for the Joy-Con
I can
controllers?
see
think
people
so.
maybe want it if they're doing some like a lot of like they're doing a lot of traveling, I guess. But I feel like you're doing a lot of traveling. You like doesn't the Joy-Cons control like charge while the Switch is charging?
Yes.
So then
If they're
I don't-
on the
yeah.
Switch while the Switch is charging, they charge.
I don't understand. It just feels like a
And
niche
then-
thing for people.
Like, it bulges off the back of the Joy-Con, so how does that interact with using the Joy-Con grip?
That's a good point. It could mess with the HD Rumble.
Or even just the ability to put those Joy-Con on the grip, because there is a piece of plastic that comes across the backside there, and this would ostensibly get in the way of that. How, like, the question would be, how easy or difficult is it to remove and add this battery pack to the Joy-Cons? If it's an in-depth process, or if it's something you just snap on.
I looked.
There's a lot of questions.
You got like a 3-second video of it, and it looked like it was just something that kind of hooked onto it. So I don't feel like it'd be a very intrusive thing, but yeah, like thinking about it, really, I don't really put too much thought into it. But
Honestly,
Yeah, it's-
demand for
but
this
I mean-
thing, but Nintendo loves their accessories, so it's probably like this thing is probably gonna be like $30, like $25 too much, and
Yeah,
people are gonna buy
I feel
it.
like it's a product that's designed to solve a problem that nobody's having.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather you give me something to extend the battery life of the Switch itself, not the Joy-Cons, because if I'm out and about, like, my Switch is going to start running out of battery sooner, which means I'm going to plug it into the wall. Even if I'm still playing in handheld mode, I'm going to put the charger on it. At that point in time, I think both the Switch itself and the Joy-Cons are charging, as long as I'm not playing with the Joy-Cons detached. But even then, like, 20 hours still, like, you can, play and fully charge and decharge the Switch 3 times, 4 times,
yeah, 5 times.
like, before you even need to worry about the battery of the Joy-Con controllers. Like, it just seems like who was asking for this product? It just seems like they're like, hey, this is a good idea, but they didn't really ask anybody if they needed this.
If somebody's doing like an extra life marathon of 1-2 Switch, that's the only time I can think of as being an issue.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, we'll see how it does. Like, this just seems like a real waste of resources, in my opinion.
It's a good point.
I personally question the point of the charging things in general, because you could do that. You could pay for that, or if you're really having that much issue with the Joy-Con batteries, get yourself a rechargeable charging grip, for God's sakes, and plug it into the console. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the charging grip's another thing. I think that should have been packed in.
Yeah, it should have been packed in
it's
from the
so
get-go.
bullshit.
I agree.
Like, that thing couldn't have cost very much. Like, it should have been packed in. Like, I mean, it's just an extra little, like, it's got a USB port and connections so that it'll charge. Like, you have to have the grip connected by USB in order to charge. It's not like it charges wirelessly
Right.
anyway. Yeah. That's one of my sticking points with the Switch. I think that charging grip should have been included in the box.
Oh yeah, it would have cost them like $2 more a console, and from what we understand, they're making like $70 off a console when they sell it. So
Yeah, they're doing fine, I'm sure, and they're selling well. I think they said 2.9 million so far.
something like that. Yeah, I know they're. They've actually, what's funny is they've sold more copies of Zelda for the Switch than they have Switches itself. So
I'm sure a lot of people were buying copies of Zelda in anticipation of buying a console when they were coming in
Yep.
stock. So I have no doubt that was the case.
yeah, I'm actually reading a press release about the Joy-Con extended battery packs, and there's no detail given on how many more hours it will add to it or anything. So we don't. It just takes. All we
I
know
would
is
imagine a lot. Those things can't drain the battery that badly.
no.
If they'll last 20 hours on a single charge.
The only thing it says is it takes 2 AA batteries to charge them. So I guess
Yeah.
if you have 2, that means 4 AA batteries. And then really, I guess kind of another big thing, Splatoon 2. For me personally, you mentioned, Troy, you were talking earlier about the single player. I personally really liked the single player, and that single player mode made the $60 worth it to me. I loved the boss battles. I loved all that stuff, even though it was easy tutorial. I liked it. I only played maybe 6-7 hours of the multiplayer, but I still really enjoyed it. But for me, it was Splatoon 2. I think the salmon run with the horde mode essentially. I went from being like I was excited for Splatoon 2, but they haven't said anything about single player. If there is no single player, but they have the salmon run, if I can have 2 or 3 people I can play this game with on a consistent basis, the salmon run I'm talking about, then I'm in. Then I'm totally.
I bet they have a single player. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the single player is more robust in this version than it was in the first one. Like, I don't know. I feel like that would be the way they would lean, almost like a Titanfall sort of situation where they're like, oh, we'll make a more robust single player. But yeah, the multiplayer seems cool. I don't know how the connectivity is going to work as far as like communication. We have to deal with the whole app thing. But I mean, we're at a point where a Skype call or a Discord chat or something like that can substitute for in-game chat. So there are options there for you to link up with your buddies and talk to each other while you're playing this. So yeah, it seems like it'd be pretty dope.
We have done several Skype and PS4 chats while playing Wii U. So
yep.
There you go.
Gables,
See,
Justin,
already used to working around.
Yeah, it's still annoying that we have to do it, but it's a thing, so we can easily work around.
Well, Nintendo doesn't always do the logical thing.
They're like Gables sometimes. They just go the hard way for no reason at all.
Oh, don't compare me to Nintendo. I mean,
no, you're right. You're much.
I like the games they produce and stuff like that. Doesn't necessarily mean I love the company 100%.
No.
But you know what? When it comes to Splatoon 2, the whole salmon run thing, yeah, I like that. It's vastly different. I kind of like the presentation that they were doing for the whole like secret like testing stuff like that. But I am pretty sure we'll probably see single player stuff at E3 from Nintendo. At the same point, I feel like with the original Splatoon, it did have the right amount of length, personally, from what it was trying to accomplish, especially during like little boss battles and introducing little like new weapons and new types of enemies for each stage and stuff, different types of the terrain that you would explore and stuff. I kind of feel that they probably will expand some aspects of it, but multiplayer will still be the main focus upon its initial stuff. I mean, it's kind of unavoidable. That's pretty much what Splatoon is known for, and that's its great multiplayer.
Yeah, and I think we'll learn more a lot about the game. Still at E3 to go in between here and the release. So I'm curious to see what the plan is after launch with the game, and then kind of also with like Troy was mentioning with the online part, how it's going to work. I imagine E3 is when they're going to tell us a lot of that stuff. And if I was a betting man, I'd bet money that we're not gonna get the free maps and shit this time.
Oh no,
it's gonna be season pass. I bet there'll be season pass. Could be like $20, but I bet there'll be one.
Cool.
Yeah.
I tried to feed you an awesome segue into one of the topics.
Oh yeah, I know. But we're gonna segue there. We're much like Gables. We're gonna segue there the hard way. And we're gonna discuss
We're not doing the easy way.
No,
I threw you a softball and you're like, nope, not swinging at that.
Fuck that. Nope. We're gonna bunt and go for the single. The NES Classic, the hardest thing to find other than the Holy Grail, is no longer in production. Nintendo announced a couple days ago. They had a press release about it. Basically, in the press release, they said that the idea for this thing was originally just to be a small run of it. Actually, I have the press release right here, so I'll do it right now. Throughout April, Nintendo of America territories will receive the last shipments of Nintendo Entertainment System NES Classic Edition systems for this year. We encourage anyone interested in obtaining this system to check out retail outlets regarding availability. We understand that it has been difficult for consumers to find a system, and for that we apologize. We have paid close attention to the consumers' feedback, and we greatly appreciate the incredible level of consumer interest and support for this product. So they have announced that basically, if you can't find any in the next couple weeks, then you will not be finding one, at least through the store, pretty much ever, or well, at least for a while. I have a lot of opinions on this, but I'm gonna let you guys go first. I want to see what you guys have to say about this.
All right, Troy, you go first.
Go Gables. No, I don't. I don't want to go first.
All right.
I actually would prefer to go last.
Okay,
no problem.
If I don't,
We'll let Gables go.
Scalp.
I do have opinions as well. That's
All right. To begin with, scalpers win. Because of a one clear reason. Ever since this NES Classic has come out, there have been people that have gone through every little bit of retailers, picked up en masse a lot of the NES Classics because they were so cheap. $60 per pop. You saw initially people going onto Craigslist, going on to places like Amazon and to eBay and selling them for at least twice what they were initially worth, sometimes even 3 times the initial worth, 200, 300 and stuff. And I bet with the news that came out last Thursday that it will probably be somewhat even greater this time around, knowing that this is a luxury item. This is a one-of-a-kind type of item that now that they're going to perceive to try to swindle unassuming masses. And, for good reason, too. Nintendo is really much to blame for this as well. Even though they went on record earlier on this week saying that this was never intended to be a full things, none of us really actually thought that they were going to go ahead and have just a single run of a specific type of things. Like a specific amount of NES Classics.
Yeah. Their original, at no point during the release of this did they say that this is going to be a limited time thing. Yeah. They never portrayed it as such until this week.
This is a classic Nintendo move at its finest. And what I mean by a classic Nintendo move is the sheer inability to look and forecast what is successful and in turn completely just shit the bed with it. And this is a good example. The NES Classic in of itself, it's the type of device, no matter what types of games you're going to have it. If you did not have any type of third-party games whatsoever on this device, and just have about maybe 13 to 20 of the first-party exclusive stuff that was on that system, it still would have sold gangbusters. If you charged it around $80 to $100, it still would have sold gangbusters. There are a couple of different ideas what I think may have played a part into why they initially started to just cut the productions of the NES Classic. I mean, still, openly, it's a bizarre thing that they ended up doing, because regardless that the Switch released last March and stuff like that, there wasn't any way that the NES Classic was going to cannibalize Switch sales. I mean, people were already into that system well within the launch. That and Zelda. What Nintendo, I think, failed to realize in terms like this, the people who are buying the NES Classics, a lot of them have no interest in buying a Switch, have no interest into going through the hardcore gaming stuff. A lot of them are clear nostalgia addicts that probably wanted to pick one up, probably for their children or probably for themselves, that have reminiscent childhood memories of when they used to play the Nintendo and play games like Legend of Zelda, like Mario 2, or not Mario 2, like Mario 3, or whatever type of games that the system had on it.
Mario 2's on there too.
Well, yes, it is, yes. But I originally wanted to say Mario 3. I know.
Mario 3 was my game. That was my gateway drug. I mean, I played Mario 1, but I think Mario 3 is the first game that I got super hardcore into. But so I guess, I mean, we all have things to say on this, so maybe we start with our initial reactions on it, and then maybe we'll go into speculation of why we think this might have been done.
Okay.
Right.
I know. Do you want me to go?
Yeah,
go on ahead.
Go ahead.
I think it's crazy. I do. I think it's insane. It blows my mind. I mean, I'm glad that I was fortunate enough to get one on launch day. 2, I'm glad that I kept the original packaging. I don't know if I will ever sell the thing, but at least I have the original packaging. If I ever decided to sell it, I know that it's probably worth a fair decent amount of money. I feel bad because I've told people, friends who genuinely wanted one, and I've probably even said it on this podcast. It's like, hold off. They're going to make more. Just wait. You'll be able to pick one up for $60. Just wait it out. Like the supply will meet the demand at some point.
We all thought that.
So
at
now
one
I feel
point.
bad because because now the odds are, since they know it's discontinued, the actual market value of these on the streets is going to just go up even beyond the 170, 180, $200 that people were selling them for before. So I kind of feel bad about that, because I was like, no, don't spend those money. Don't spend that money. Don't be dumb. Just wait it out. It's gonna come into stock, and it hasn't. I do have my opinion on why I think it is that they decided to make this choice. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Tyler, what do you think about the news?
I'm as someone, like, when they first announced it, I said I'm happy it's a thing that exists, but I don't really give a shit that it does exist, kind of thing. Where it's like, it's a cool thing, but I'm not interested. It's not my thing. But I was pretty pissed to hear about it. It's just,
Yes.
as somebody that loves Nintendo and wants them to do as well, it's like, I love, I have PS4. I don't have. I'm not really a fanboy of any particular console, but with Nintendo, I have a little more hope for them. They're like the little engine that could, kind of thing, where it's like, I want them to, any little thing that can help them succeed, that's great. And this thing was that, and it's just like, you fucking bungled it again. It's just classic Nintendo. It's like, they fucked this up from the beginning, and I know, it's just, I was just pissed off, because just like, this thing was selling gangbusters. Obviously, there's a lot of demand out there. I don't understand. To me, it boggles my mind why they do that. Even if they're having issues with keeping up with shipments, getting a few thousand out there every couple weeks or so is better than nothing. But that was kind of like the first 2 minutes after I saw that post. After you posted it in our Facebook chat, that's kind of what I thought. If you guys want to,
well,
I mean, do you want to go into what you think was the reason for it to be discontinued? I mean, they haven't really come out with an actual reason, but there's obviously a reason.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump in with what you think the reason is?
I don't. To me, there's part of me that wonders if it's just like the rumor was for a long time that there was an issue with one of the pieces for it, getting it to make the actual NES Classic itself. But I really feel like their big concern was the hacking, the easily hackability of the console, of the NES Classic, and also cannibalizing the Switch, which to me, I think both are bullshit. If you look at the Wii and the Wii U, the big selling point of both of those consoles was the Virtual Console, and they've been selling that thing and make us rebuy those goddamn games multiple times for like a fucking decade now. And it's working, obviously, because they're making a buku about $1 off that stuff. And also the Switch, I feel like this is more of, and I said it in the Facebook chat at the time, that I feel like this could be more of a gateway drug to the Switch. Where it's like, yeah, people that maybe they're not big, they haven't been big fans of Nintendo for a long time, maybe they're not even big fans of video games for a long time, but they're like, when they were kids, they had an NES, and it's like, oh cool, I could play all these great games on the NES. Oh cool, I miss Zelda, I miss Mario. Oh, the Switch just came out? I want to check that out. Oh, there's a new Zelda game out, there's a new Mario game coming out. Like, it just seems like an easy transition over to get those people over there. And even if it doesn't, you have this thing that's fairly cheap to make, and coming out, and it's fairly cheap to buy, and they bungled it, and they fucked it up from the beginning with not having pre-orders, so they didn't know what the demand was going to be like, and then also, like you mentioned earlier, Troy, where they never said before this was going to be a small little run of things. If they would have said at the beginning and this happened, then it would be a different story, but they didn't, and I think that's just a bullshit thing on their end that they just kind of, they're retconning in the story behind the NES Classic. What about you guys?
Gabe, what do you think? Are you there?
Gabe's gone. I heard the door squeak. He's gone.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll go. So, actually, I think it was my chair that squeaked. But anyway, either way. So, I honestly believe that the hackability of the device is what sunk it. I think the fact that when people got this in their hands and they started fiddling with it and they figured out how to add games to the system, so basically by downloading ISOs of games, basically in the eyes of Nintendo, pirating the games because they're not paying for them, and putting them on the system, that I think is what killed this console, because Nintendo has a notorious hardline stance against people pirating their games. Like, you go onto their website, in the frequently asked questions, they clearly label, that in their mind emulators are piracy. Like, that there's no gray area in their mind. So I think the fact that people had found a way to crack this thing open, add a whole bunch of other games, I think they were able to expand it to like 70 or 80 games on the console, just using the internal storage. I think that alone is what killed this console. And because the fact that the thing is not connected to the internet, there's no way to patch in firmware to cover this or to close this problem. So in their mind, it was just easier to just scrap it. Be done with it, not worry about it anymore, get it off the record. They don't have to worry about it anymore, because in Nintendo's eyes, emulation is piracy, and they have a very hard line stance against piracy. I had read articles. I actually read a Fox News article on LinkedIn that said, "Oh, it's because they didn't want it to cannibalize the Switch." And I'm like, no, there's no way a $60 Memento piece is going to cannibalize the sales of a $300 console whose games cost $60. Like, there's no way that somebody is going to, I'm not going to buy the Switch. Why would I do that? Instead, I'm just going to buy this NES Classic. The NES Classic is just a memento, a nostalgia piece. Like, that's what it is. And it's $60. It's the same price as Zelda at this point. There's no logical reason why Nintendo would think that this $60 console is going to cannibalize sales of the Switch. It's just not going to happen. In my honest opinion, it is the emulation and the ability to add more games that is what killed this console.
And I feel like that I don't understand. I get maybe it's just like a Japanese kind of thing, company kind of thing, but I just don't get that. Like, people have been emulating games for decades. I remember playing fucking Mario on on a calculator 20 years ago. It's like people have been buying Raspberry Pis for cheaper than what it costs to buy an NES Classic for years, and playing any Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, whatever kind of game they want. But there is a demand for people, and I feel like 98% of the people that own a Classic probably just did the legitimate thing. They bought it and they want to play the 30 games that are on it. But
that's where I stand. But now what they've done is they've basically pushed people towards emulation, because now people are like, well, I can't get one of these, but guess what? A Raspberry Pi is $50, and I can turn that into basically this, plus have SNES games and Sega Genesis games and a slew of other games on this console, rather than just the 30 games that Nintendo wants me to play on the NES Classic. And you'll have people on Etsy selling shells that hold a Raspberry Pi that look like a classic NES. It's going to be that. Like, they have basically, by cutting off this market, they have enabled a new market to exist, to replace that.
Yeah, and it's just like, kind of, people will pay for convenience. They'll pay more for convenience. Like for me, going to wrestling, I guess, to make an analogy there, where the pay-per-views before they had the network for $10 a month, you can buy the pay-per-views for every month, and they're $50-$60 for a pay-per-view. And it's like, I can pay $50-$60 for this pay-per-view, or I can just go and do 30-40 minutes of searching and find a legal stream to watch it on, and just do it on there, and don't have to worry about any don't have to pay any money, don't have to worry about any issues with getting in trouble or anything. But I never did that. I always paid the $50-$60 to watch pay-per-view, just because for the convenience factor, and I don't have to worry about shit. I don't have to worry about getting in trouble for anything in case there was something that went wrong. So, and there's a lot of people that did that, and I feel like there's a lot of things for that in just general in life, that it's just bullshit to me that this thing sold. I think it sold over 900,000 copies or whatever.
Pretty much every one that they made.
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be none of these left on the shelf anywhere. So, the only place you're going to find them is on Craigslist or on eBay.
Yeah. And it's just like, how many of those people probably actually did shady shit with it? Maybe a few hundred? Maybe 1,000 or two?
Yeah, probably not a huge percentage. I mean, I have no intention of hacking mine. I'm going to play just the original 30 games that are on it.
Yeah, like you said, it's a memento thing. I bet there's a decent amount of people that probably just bought it and just set it on the shelf. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just infuriates me, just being someone that loves Nintendo and wants them to do well. It's just just hurting yourself twice over by the fact now you're not making money off this thing and people are getting your shit elsewhere. So
yeah, no, it's absolutely Nintendo's fault. No matter how you look at it, it was their fault. They bungled the launch, they bungled the supply, they bungled the fact that they didn't foresee that somebody was going to be able to crack this thing open and keep adding games. So even if that's the reason, and they're doing it to protect their intellectual property from being pirated and added to the device that they put out, it's their bad for making a product that's able to do that. Yeah. So I mean, no matter how you slice it, Nintendo is the reason why this was the disaster that it was.
And every goddamn console ever has been hacked and been messed with. Like I remember like working at a game store in like from '06 to '08, and people were bringing me 360s that had been out for a year at that point, and they were hacked and they did all kind of shit to it, and they had like every fucking game on it that was out at that point. There's like 8 at that point, but they had every game on it, and so that shit happened. Like current games with freaking online support, they were still doing that with. There's ways people will find a way around anything, no matter how fucking much you do to it. So yeah, it's a lot like Persona 5 last week, talking about that kind of stuff. It's
Yep.
just
Same thing.
Just-
Japanese
yeah.
companies don't necessarily think the same way that Western companies do,
Yeah.
or
As-
people. Like what you and I would think was common sense. They don't necessarily think that way, I guess.
yeah, they'd rather piss off the majority of the consumers than make money, I guess. I don't know.
I think there's certain more points.
It's probably
I
not
think there
that.
is another point to this to be had in mind. I don't personally believe it's due to hacking that they cut and continued this, cut the overall classic NES stuff. I don't think it's because of that. I don't think it's because of the whole, scammer things or supply and demand. I think it has largely to do with the fact of Virtual Console. Now, the thing about it is, when they sell their NES Classic, a lot of their games that they have on the device in and of itself, now granted, the Virtual Console is not a new thing. It's been around since the Wii's lifespan.
2006.
It has put a lot of the games that would be on the system for about $5 a pop. But if you were to do the math calculations for the games that are on the NES Classic, you're going to be seeing about $2 a pop, pretty much, for NES
It's at least,
games.
I mean, if you just take the games into account, it's $2 per
Yeah.
game. But that's not taking into account the awesome little NES that can sit on your shelf,
that's
and
very
the
true.
controllers that are one-for-one replicas of the original NES controllers, which adds extra value.
So I believe, personally, one of the reasons why, even though I know it's kind of dumb, but at the same point, this is classic Nintendo stuff that we're talking about. If they want to try to make something, like I say, a Virtual Console-esque thing for the Nintendo Switch that may possibly do the same thing, I mean, there's been rumblings for that Virtual Console things on the Switch now over the past year, then it wouldn't be so much of a surprise that was the reason why they went forth and cut the NES Classic. Because why go through and put a $60 device and stuff, business-wise? Why would you go through, do a $60 device that has all of these games that are labeled for $2 a pop, or they could just go ahead and hike up with the same price that they charged in the previous services by having $5 a pop for the NES games, or whatever type of things that they got going through there. I think it's totally a business move for that one.
Having those Virtual Console games on the Switch gives you an extra benefit in that you can take them on the go.
Exactly.
With you. That's something you can't do with the NES Classic Edition. So I honestly don't know whether or not that's the reason, and we may never know the actual reason why Nintendo decided to do this, but that's not logical, because there is an edge to having these games on the Switch in the fact that you can take them anywhere.
Exactly.
That you can't with the NES Classic Edition. So another thought that crossed my mind is I bought extension cables for the controllers, because the controllers had those ridiculous 2 or 3 foot long cables on them. There's a whole industry that popped up around this thing of people providing controllers and extension cables and all these other things for this device, and they probably ramped up production expecting Nintendo to continue to make these things. And the fact that now all of a sudden these products are going to sit on the shelves or in people's warehouses without an NES Classic to match to it, that's kind of crappy too. Now all of a sudden all these other companies they lose money too.
Yeah, this it's right. It doesn't just affect Nintendo; it affects a lot of people. A lot of different companies. But I will say the Virtual Console thing, as far as excuses go, is probably the best argument. But much like what we were saying earlier, if this was originally the plan to be a small little thing, a small run, then that's fine. I mean, that makes sense as far as a business strategy goes, I guess. Not the most sense, but there's an argument you can make there. But I feel like they should have communicated that beforehand.
So yeah, I honestly don't think that was the plan.
No,
all along.
it was
I think
not
that
the
was the
plan
plan
at
all
all.
along. they would have announced that early, so there was a huge fervor. I mean, there's already a huge fervor, but there would have been even more fervor. People, if they knew that it was going to be a limited production thing, and Nintendo could have jacked the price up, they could have sold these things for $100.
Yeah.
And so if they had intentions of just making a limited number of these, like a $60 price point, obviously that price point was too low. Like, so many people scooped it up at $60. Like, that was not the equilibrium price for this device. Like, if you wanted to find an equilibrium price, I'm thinking it's closer to $120. It could have been closer to what people are scalping them for, $150. You know, so I don't think this was planned all along for Nintendo, because if it was, they would have been smarter about it.
Yeah.
They would have jacked up the price, and they would have announced early on, look, we're making a very limited number of these, so you got to get them while they're hot.
And I'm not saying I agree with that being an excuse. I'm just, that's as far as all the arguments I've heard, that's the best one. And it's a very thin argument you have there.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, but I mean, what it comes down to is like I said, we may never ever know, and the fact of the matter is that it is like the ones that are out there are all that they're going to be. So you're either going to pay the scalpers fees, you may look out and get one in the next month, but otherwise, you know, you're stuck just in case. And then hopefully Nintendo learns their lesson. Like, if they decide to put out an SNES Classic later on, hopefully they learn their lesson and figure out how to do this the right way. Let this be a great lesson to them.
But at the same time, I wonder if this might hurt people and detract people in the future. Like, you just might piss off a huge bunch of people as like, well, I just dealt with all this bullshit, spent the last 4 or 5 months trying to get this thing, couldn't get it. Oh, you announced the SNES Classic? Fuck you! I don't want to even deal with this hassle again. So you might just scare a good chunk of your audience off in the future.
Especially if they try to do a same move again with another potential limited edition run of a specific type of mini console like they did with the NES. Because you damn sure better believe that if they try to do the same thing again, that they are not going to do that. Then people are not going to go ahead and just look at it as like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not going to invest into this. Because they already know the thing's going to already be sold, because a lot of the fucking scalpers are going to go and pull a fucking Saturday Night Richard and scoop up all the fucking things in one go and sell them off for twice their initial worth on eBay. So here you go.
Yeah.
We all know how Gabe feels about that. He just dropped like 6 F-bombs in like one sentence, so we know how he feels about that.
Gabe really hates eBay.
I don't hate eBay. I loathe
He hates
scalpers.
There you go. That's fair. But you know what? I think we're going a little long, so I think that might wrap up the show for the week. A lot of Nintendo talk this week.
Yeah, we'll add the rest of these to the continuing list of topics that are being rolled over to the next episode.
Like in like November, we're gonna be talking about games that are like that are already out, but we're gonna talk about how they released the first trailer and the release date was announced. But yeah, no, we'll talk about should talk about next week, as long as like 90 things has happened again this week.
Yeah, right. I mean, if nothing happens, we've got 4 topics at least we can talk about next week.
As long as Nintendo doesn't do anything to piss off Gables, we have to talk about next week. So, but as long as Nintendo keeps doing stupid business moves, we have loads of content. But anyways,
material.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening this week. If you want to hear more from us, we are on Facebook. We have a page and group. It is Drunk Dash Nerds on there. So like and join us on there. On Twitter, we are at Drunk Nerds Pod. So follow us on there. Probably the best places to go to find out when the episodes come out right away. Also on YouTube, it is Drunk Dash Nerds Podcast. So Drunk Dash Nerds, I'm sorry. Check us out on there. Subscribe. Podcast goes there as well. We do some streaming stuff. We'll put them on there as well too. So like those videos and tell your friends. Great. Also on iTunes, we're available there. Give us a 5-star review. More reviews we get, more people see us, and that'd be greatly appreciated. And then also on Twitch, my dreaded plug of the day. Follow us on there?
Yes, follow us on there.
What's up?
Yes! Oh my God.
Did you say follow?
Yeah.
I didn't even hear it. I just like, I was like, huh? My Skype might have messed
DJing.
up right then.
So follow us on there. Yes. Cool.
Yes, follow.
Yay! I'm getting so good at this hosting thing. It only took 4 years. So anyways, thank you guys once again for listening. I was your host. I was Tyler.
I have been Troy.
And I have been Colonel Gables. Until next week, everyone, the legend will live on.
Peace out.
Yeah, peace out.
Bye. # fuck Nintendo.
Fuck Nintendo. I love you, Nintendo. Fuck you, Nintendo.
Yeah.
I love you, Nintendo. Fuck you, Nintendo.
I'm gonna do 140 characters of hashtag fuck and love Nintendo. Boys.
It's like you get a daisy and you pull the petals, and instead of he loves me not, it's fuck Nintendo. I love Nintendo. Fuck Nintendo. I love Nintendo.
The new Konami.
Oh no!
There you go. Oh, I don't think
Oh, the
they
whole
will have.
Jim Sterling
yeah,
thing. It's
no.
like, okay, it's like fuck Konami, and oh Ubisoft. It's like classic Nintendo. Yeah, we out.
Boys. Excuse me. Few too many beers there. Anyways, we're on iTunes now, so go on there, check us out, and if you like us, leave us a review, and we'll even shout you out. And Jack will send you his credit card number.